Good morning, everybody. We'll give it one more minute here.
Good
See who else joins.
Good morning.
Hey. All right. Well, we will go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Hope everybody is safe and healthy and mostly at home with your families. We have been home here near Dallas for, I don't know, seems like 6 weeks or so with our teenage kids, and they're pretty self-sufficient, so we've been pretty fortunate that way. Today could be a big day here because as Hemza and Jillian know, about a month ago, we noticed a duck near our pool that decided to lay her eggs. And so she's been sitting on 9 eggs. And I think that they sit on them for 28 days and then they hatch. So we have a feeling that day might be today. So it's just been kind of cool to see during all this craziness, beginning of life for some, and it's kind of been fun to track. So anyway, we're gonna kind of throw out our normal agenda that we might do today, and we want to just spend more time with all of you listening to what's going on. So we'll do kind of a longer version of significant events to catch up personally and professionally with what's going on. And then we do have about 3 questions for breakouts. So we'll give you guys some significant time to spend with one another and to talk about some good questions together, but really just very casual session today. So as usual, we want to start out with our little breathing exercise, our heartbeat exercise. So if you guys could go ahead and find your pulse somewhere on your neck or your wrist, we'll go about 60 seconds just listening to that heartbeat, and we can start now. Okay. All right, that felt good. If you didn't already know, just as a reminder that last week and this week on Mondays around 12:30 Eastern time, Rob Dubay from Image One has been leading a Monday meditation, just a 10-minute meditation with members of the community. So if you are interested in sitting in on that, please register. And I think he's going to do at least a couple more Mondays, which is very cool. Also want to thank all of you who had the opportunity to talk to Hemza and the team as they were getting feedback on how the Leadership Academy is going so far. We got a ton of great feedback, and you're going to see a communication from Hemza very soon with tweaks and all the things we heard. So thank you for all that participated in that. One of the things that came out loud and clear is we want to spend more time with each other. We want to have longer breakouts and, during our calls. So you'll see a little bit of an example of that today, but a number of other little tweaks that we're going to make going forward, you'll hear more about. Reminder, I'm also available for one-to-one meetings. Anytime you guys need something, I'm happy to spend time with you. I got a little more time right now, so feel free to reach out if I can help you in any way. As I said, we're going to go starting with our significant events. We definitely would like to know what's going on with you personally, with your families, how you guys are hanging in there, and then what's going on with business. You know, we've seen just such the extremes from companies that are really going through tough times right now, some that are thriving based on the businesses that they're in, some that are already starting to look long term. So, so we can take a little more time. Feel free to ask each other questions as we go through this. There's no rush, as we kind of just catch up and see what's going on with everybody. So, Brady, why don't we start with you? Good morning.
Good morning. So I guess, you know, one of the big changes is working from home, and I'd always thought that that would be difficult and I wouldn't enjoy it very much, or that it wouldn't be productive, but it's actually been very productive, just with the tools that we have and the ability to focus without distractions. So there have been some positives that came out of it from a work aspect. But then also just, you know, it eliminates 2 hours of commute time. So that's that much more time that I can spend with the family. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I think, you know, one of the challenges that I put on the questions to talk about later is how do we prepare for life after telework, because we're trying to figure that out right now too. So I guess just personal front, we've been spending a lot of time with family, and then which has been nice. And then on the business front, it's been pretty chaotic for the last few weeks. I think the last week or so we've kind of finally hit a steady state, but we managed to get all 1,100 employees teleworking from home. We didn't have to lay anyone off or cut hours or anything like that. So that was a major hurdle to get past that. And then we've been processing payroll and accounts, finance and accounting remotely too. So we finally kind of just hit that steady state. And now we're beginning to kind of prepare for, you know, what's next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. I think we're seeing a lot of that is just the work from home. It's like, oh, this isn't so bad, you know. And I think a lot of it depends on if you have kids that you're homeschooling or not. By the way, kids are more than welcome to pop in on these calls, or dogs or whatever. So don't worry about interruptions. We know what everybody's dealing with right now. So you know, everybody's welcome. But it sounds like, you know, again, outside of some disruption early on, even on the business side, that you guys are kind of getting organized and hanging in pretty well. So that's good. Good to hear. Lauren, how you doing?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Hi, everyone. Today is actually my first day back at work, you know, remotely from my maternity leave. So that's been interesting, personally. Professionally, I'm getting kind of caught up on things, but I know our firm is dealing with one, you know, significant drop in revenue, as our firm is a financial planning firm and our revenues derive from the investment markets and all the turmoil that's happened there. So how do we prioritize, you know, people during times when your revenue takes a significant hit? That's been something that we've been thinking a lot about. And then also, how do we keep everyone safe, but also think about how do we eventually get back to work, you know, in a business where face-to-face meetings are important. And a lot of our clients are very elderly. So that's another level to it. Personally, I'm thinking a lot about, as a leader of the firm and a leader of the team that's a doer of a lot of the company, how do I lead by example whenever it does come time to maybe go back to work or rotate back in, but at the same time managing my own personal fears of exposing my family, you know, with a new baby. And we also took my 90-year-old grandmother out of her nursing home, and she's in contact with me. So how do I balance that of leading by example and, you know, walking the walk with also like my own fears of exposing folks in my life.
Yeah, a lot of great topics there. Kind of how do you lead through this in your company? How from the standpoint of your customers being, in financial planning, have you heard, are you getting a lot of people concerned, worried? I don't know what kind of clientele. I know you have a lot of elderly clients, or are they, the type that are just kind of riding it out and are patient, or do you just see the whole gamut?
Yeah, it's a large mix. Obviously, in March when things were really volatile there and it was, up or down crazy percentage points, in a given day, we were getting a lot of people very nervous because it happened so quickly. Like it was 2008 and 9 movements within a matter of weeks. People worried about their retirement savings. People worried about, what happens to my financial plan? Can I still retire? So reassuring clients a lot. But for the most part, people, people lived through 2008, 2009. They remember that. And they remember we've been here before. We don't know what will happen in a month or 2 months or 3 months, but, we plan for the long term. So that's the message we've been trying to do. And a lot of clients are seeing that. So that's good.
Yeah, that's good. I've been around long enough to be through a few of these, so I did learn to just let it go.
Just don't look at your statement.
Just let it ride.
Yeah.
So that's great. And so you moved your did you say your grandmother in with you?
She's living with my parents that live
Okay.
less than a mile away, and we're kind of helping share. We actually, my husband locked our family down. He's been following all of this since January. So he locked us down in the end of February. So we have been in a position where I haven't left the house in over a month. Like we haven't gone to the grocery store. We've gotten everything delivered. So we felt comfortable like having a very closed circuit of my parents and my grandmother to share caregiving duties. But that's all we've seen. So yeah, we're kind of sharing for her, but there's actually been a lot of cases and hospitalizations in her home since she's left.
Oh, wow.
So thinking about that too, how long will she be staying with us? Is there a path, when will she go back? When do we feel comfortable with her going back? That's another thing to think about.
Yeah. Well, it's, luckily it sounds like, your husband was right on, he just went for it early on. That's really fortunate. And that, your family is close, which is great. My mom's 90 with Alzheimer's. My dad's 92. They live at home in Los Angeles. So I can't get there right now, which is frustrating, but they're doing fine. And hanging in there, just adjusting like everybody, but it's just hard, you can't help but worry. And, so I'm glad that especially, in assisted living facilities, et cetera, they're having a tough time. So it sounds like you guys made a good decision there. All right, Michelle, and we'll, hey guys, when I call on you, we'll go ahead and unmute you so you don't have to worry about it. Michelle, welcome.
Hi. So my world hasn't changed all that much because we've still been out there in the field every day helping our customers with losses in their home so they can stay in their home, whether it's water losses that are new that need to be addressed so that they can still live there, or whether it's old ones they didn't address that now have mold. Helping people get back into their home that we were close to completion. We've been able to complete those repairs so people can get there and have functioning kitchens and bathrooms. We've also been doing some COVID-19 cleaning where there's known exposures and not. So some of our biggest challenges is really how to motivate and inspire our team. I tend to think I'm invincible, and as long as we do the right things, we're all going to be fine. But one of the things I had to come to grasp with early on is recognizing that everybody has the right to feel the way they feel, and I need to be sensitive to that. And I can reassure them, but I can't change the way they feel. So when we do cleanings or put them into situations that are different risks than what they normally do, what we're doing is we're identifying exactly what it is, if there's a known exposure, and we're asking for volunteers, and I'm going out there and I'm cleaning. So between that, we've been able to put together large enough teams to address the customers who've asked us to do that. And not everybody participates, and that's okay. And we're getting through day by day, and we're seeing the impact in different ways, but we're trying to stay positive and, trying to understand the impact on our team as we move forward.
And how about personally?
Well, I've been to the home and I've been to the office, and I'm working 5 to 6 days a week, and not much has changed.
Wow. Good for you. Now, have you had any employees who have said, hey, we don't feel safe, or we don't want to be on the job right now?
We did early on. The first few days after the stay home order, there was a lot of emotions and a lot of different thinking going on. I think as people came to grips with it, we had one person who said that she didn't feel safe working in any environment with or without protective gear. So we said, okay, but we'd have to put her on unpaid leave because we couldn't continue to pay her for her role. And she chose to do that. And after about 4 or 5 days, came back and said, you know what? I'm still nervous and I'm still scared, but I do feel I overreacted because you guys are doing the right thing. I'm talking to the rest of the team. I would like to come back, and she did, and that's had a positive impact on the team as a whole.
Yeah, I think the best thing you said, which is so true, is everybody feels the way they feel, and you can't change that. And this is one of those, times like others in life where the emotions just run, and you have to accept it and realize it's normal, and then manage it or be compassionate or empathetic about it. So sounds like you guys have done really well managing that. So
yeah, there's a lot of struggles still. Don't get me wrong. There's struggles every day. But we're very happy. I just published our financials because being the numbers person, I go there. We did much better than we anticipated we would. We broke even for the month. We're utilizing team members to do things in-house that we would normally subcontract to protect profitability and keep them working. And assuming that this doesn't become the status quo for more than a few more weeks, we'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, it definitely seems like the last few days, the tide has turned in terms of just the talk, kind of not just sort of reaching the peak, but now the talk is less about the worst is yet to come to what's it going to be like, and at what pace will things start to recover, which is certainly made me feel better. I don't know about you guys. All right. Thanks, Michelle. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Hey, good morning. We're doing pretty well considering our entire team was already remote, so there weren't any changes there. We were already used to kids and dogs in the background of our calls, so that part hasn't changed. We did cut back on travel probably the second week of March. We said, no more travel, and a lot of our clients were saying they weren't allowing people on their campuses either. So that was a pretty easy decision. We've been, I would say, pretty fortunate in that we've only had one project so far that's been pushed. So as far as our revenues, we haven't seen a dip yet, but I think that we probably will in the upcoming months. And so it's just kind of thinking about that and preparing for what that might look like, and seeing if there's any kind of cost that we can cut now to help prepare for the future. It's hard. It's hard to keep things in perspective when you're just focused on your own business, but then you have friends that own restaurants, or we have friends that have an optometry clinic that they've had to completely shut down right now, and you see how hard it is for other people right at this moment, and that makes you it makes you empathize for them, but it also makes you thankful for not having to deal with that situation right in this moment. So personally, I think Doug and I maybe were built for social isolation. We were already we already were having our groceries delivered before this, yeah, we've been doing good, trying to get outside and go on walks, and not much has changed here. We don't have kids, and so we don't have the homeschooling, but yeah. everything considered, it's going well. We were gonna try to go back to Africa in August, but I don't think that that's gonna happen. I am concerned about just our friends over there that we met in January because of they can't handle this situation with their infrastructure and their hospitals and their government. So that's concerning, but we'll do everything we can do to support them, and that's about all we can do.
Yeah. Well, overall, it sounds like you guys are doing well. We had never done grocery delivery before, but I think we'll be doing it going forward. It's pretty cool.
It's the best.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, I think there's a lot of gratitude to go around right now for how lucky all of us are in general for what we have either at home or even in our businesses. I've mentioned before, I own a restaurant in California, and we had to close the restaurant and lay off 20 people. And that's really tough. And the hardest thing is we don't have any idea when we'll come back and if we'll, how we'll come back. We're in a position where, we'll be able to open up again and all that. But I did it yesterday, a weekly call with Laguna Beach restaurant owners that are all in the same boat. And it's just really sad because a number of them just will throw in the towel and can't reopen at all. So it's going to be, for certain industries, really, really hit hard. But yeah, again, a lot to be thankful for. Good. Appreciate the update. Sasha, welcome.
I'm for work. I'm really proud of my company, and I'm very proud of Lester, our CEO. He's done really well preparing us. So we're doing really good. Online, as you know, as I don't know if many of you know, but the biggest product that we sell is our dog food and cat food, but dog food primarily. So dog food being shipped to your door is a good product to sell in this market. So our sales have been doing well, although we are losing a ton of we are losing way more auto ships than we ever have because many people are losing their jobs and canceling their auto ships. But we're gaining even more. So,
you're saying auto ship, like the recurring
yes, I'm sorry.
shipments,
yes. Yeah, our company, 75% of our revenue comes from our auto ship customers. So we are losing unprecedented numbers of auto ships. People are canceling because they're concerned about finances, because our food is not on the low end of the scale. But so many more are signing up so that we are in a very healthy net gain, which is great. And and not to brag, but I'm in a particularly good situation right now because I was in the middle of moving from the condo to the house. So when everybody left to work from home, I was the last one who stayed in the office. So now on the entire floor, I'm the only person there, and now I've already moved, but I'm like, well, I'm just me, so I can't infect anybody, can't pick it up from anybody else. So I get to drive to the office every day, and my new house is only 12 minutes away, which is fabulous. And I get to come into the office all by myself, have coffee in the conference room. I have a fridge up here, I have a microwave up here. I mean, I could live here. And my husband's like, well, you're gonna work from home. I'm like, why would I? I have a child there. My mom's living with us temporarily. So
she's helping out.
Yes, she's caring for my daughter, who's she's now 18 months, and she's a handful. She has very strong-willed parents, so it's gonna suck. She's a very strong. She had a 20-minute tantrum because my mom sat on a pillow, which didn't want. Like, how dare you sit on a pillow? So for 20 minutes, she was screaming over this fact that my mom used the pillow. So I'm like, why would I want to work from home, Mom? I actually come early. I come 20 minutes early and I relax. It's great. So I'm doing good here. We're new house. We're swimming in boxes, of course. We're missing a lot because we moved from an apartment to a two-story home. So we're missing a lot of furniture, which we can't exactly buy right now. So that's that's okay. We'll get there. And I just feel fortunate. I feel very fortunate for what I have, in a place where the company is. And we're actually this Thursday in 2 days, we're having our valuation party because we're 100% ESOP, and they have, and the accounting department has the numbers of what our shares, how much our shares have appreciated, and we have a party to celebrate that and reveal the big number. So we're having a pizza party. It's a virtual pizza party. So we've all been sent a gift card to Domino's. So everyone gets to deliver pizza to their home or office, and we'll have a little pizza party.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, on balance, you're doing well. But I think what, you know, a lot of people are seeing too, and is important, is to recognize that everybody's impacted, right? So every business will be impacted. It may not be right now. It may be in 6 months. And so how are you thinking about that? How are you thinking about how the business will change, or will we get, you know, will we find our revenues go down, or do we need to prepare in a greater way for something that might happen a little bit further down the road that may not be happening in the immediate time? So
Yeah,
good stuff.
absolutely. Yeah, because we know that auto ship drain, the loss of auto ships will continue, and eventually we're going to stop gaining. So
yeah.
the bucket's going to stop filling, and the hole still is going to keep going. So we actually have changed our website now, where before, when a customer would cancel the auto ship, we would just say, okay, thanks, the auto ship's canceled, have a good day. So, you know, but now when they try to cancel the auto ship, we actually give them some tips and suggestions. Hey, if you're canceling because of money, here's a good way to save some money. You know, do this and this and this. So we have already changed our website to help slow the auto ship losses that we're experiencing.
Yeah, good. Just anticipating.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. All right, Brenda, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. I would say on the business side, similar to Lauren, we're in the financial services industry. So when the market takes a hit, so does our revenue. It's directly impacted by that. The board has met to kind of put some cost cutting phases into place. Fortunately, we've only had to implement phase 1, which is the easy stuff, you know, no discretionary spending, sales marketing type of stuff that we're not using right now. So that's been good. I mean, those are models that we look at when we do our budget each year, kind of a worst case scenario. So some of those plans we already had in place because we try and do that every year. Just didn't think we'd ever have to implement them. Hoping we don't get to the point where it affects employees. But we do have a business continuity plan in place, which has been great. Everybody's working from home. Hasn't affected client relationships or client meetings in any way. So that's been really good. And I think as a team, because we are small, there's only 7 of us, I think we've gotten closer and spent more quality time together online than typically we would do in the office. So that's good. Working from home, similar to Brady, I thought that that wouldn't be something that I would enjoy, and thought it would be a challenge. But I'm actually really surprised at how much I'm enjoying it, other than I miss my stand-up desk. But it was been an adjustment for my family to get being used to having me at home and not, you know, feeling like they can grab me at any time. But we've worked through all that and adjusted to me being home. Personally, 16-year-old at home, we've loosened the reins a little bit with technology, more than I'm comfortable. But both my husband and my son have autoimmune diseases, so we've probably stuck home sooner and than most people, just so that they're not exposed to anything. My son started his high school started online yesterday, so it's been good to have a schedule in place for him, and not thinking that summer started early. And let's see what else. We've reduced our spending at home. Financially, it hasn't affected us yet. I guess potentially it could, but it hasn't. But we're planning for that in case that does happen. But other than that, I think I'm enjoying the slower pace and not having to be at a lot of different places. It's been nice just being home and feels a little more leisure and relaxed, and I'm enjoying that pace definitely.
You know, it's good to actually lean into the new pace a bit and realize that so much of the time, if you think about our businesses and our life, we just kind of wish things would slow down so we could actually get some of the bigger things done, bigger projects. And now you have that opportunity. So if you can get past just the anxiety that we all feel going through this, it's really a great time to do that. Sounds like you're enjoying working from home too. I remember when Hemza started as executive director for the community, you know, for some years ago, that was her one big worry, was going from an office, right, to working where you had, you know, because you're social and you like the camaraderie with everybody. And I don't know, a few months in, you just told me, this is great, you know, just that when you got to work from home and be in your yoga pants every day. So it's so you like that, huh? The other thing that you said, I think, is really important, and I'll use Hemza again as an example. You said you have a business continuity plan in place, and you know, I've spent time with you and your CEO, and you guys are very, you know, organized, data driven, and things like that. This is a good time to look and say, you know, do we have that business continuity plan in place? And Hemza's husband is a physician who works as a partnership of cardiologists, and a couple of them in the practice ended up sick with the virus, like the two most senior partners in the firm. And they've both recovered and are doing fine. But one of the realization is they have no succession plan, right? That's a really dangerous spot to be in, to know that, you know, God forbid something should happen to somebody that's key in the business. So it's like the same thing we think about personally is, you know, do we have a will? Do we have things in place that we just always put down the road? In business, it's really important to have that succession plan in place, or business continuity. So congrats for how you guys have been set up to do that. All right, Travis, are we in your garage?
Correct. Yep, hanging out in the garage. This is the home office for the time being.
Cool.
It's been working fine. It's getting a little quieter out here than inside the house at times, but the last month has been a roller coaster, as much as everybody's experiencing, I'm sure. But we had the first weekend of spring break, which was a month ago, we had a quick ski trip planned for a weekend, and it was in Taos, New Mexico, which is a 6 or 7 hour drive. And we drove down after school on Friday, and my daughter woke up with an awful fever and symptoms that were similar to flu or COVID, and we didn't know which. And so we really struggled trying to navigate that situation remotely, and it was still pretty early in the stages. And so we couldn't really find any resources there in Taos, so we turned around immediately and drove home. So for a week, we were really working through that process of how to care for her. And locally, where there wasn't any tests available, and they just said continue to hydrate her and monitor her temperature, and if she doesn't have trouble breathing, then we want you to stay home. And so she recovered, full recovery after about 7 days. So it was a really scary week there. And you know, my wife and I were keenly aware of our physical health at that point too. And so for the first couple of weeks of this crisis, my anxiety was kind of managing and dictating my emotions and reactions, and it was a struggle in that added stress between my wife and I. So life was really hard. And then in the wake of that, I kind of trended in the opposite direction personally, to where I just started to fill all my information with positive and uplifting information, to where I almost just completely put the COVID situation out of my mind. I had pretty much gained as much information at that point as I could. And so from meditations to positive news sources. I just continued to engage in as much good information as possible. And that's actually led to one of the challenges that I want to talk about later on about my resiliency and then compassion and empathy to other people. But that's kind of been the last month, ups and downs. Ultimately led to a good spot, but it's been a struggle. In the professional realm, we were trying to work through it the entire time, but we were deemed an essential business. And that was very fortunate that we're able to continue to provide for our team members, but really pretty scary because I don't feel like the industry took a deliberate step to even close down for a certain period of time and say, all right, that's great that we're essential, but how do we protect our people? And so that was frustrating as well as it was fortunate. We've done our best to our ability to provide the right PPE, the personal protective equipment, and the right social distancing guidelines and timelines for people to maintain their work. But it's also just a little worrisome to see vast majority of the general contractors and owners and developers just kind of continue on as business as usual, because it ultimately makes me feel like, we're somewhat of a commodity in the construction industry. And so that's been a struggle to know when to say, hey, we appreciate that you want to achieve schedules and deadlines, but we also need to value our people first. And so most of the time that's received well, but that's been one of the challenges is keeping them safe and then having those tough conversations with people that don't see it in the same light as we do.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a balance, and just to be named an essential business, on the one hand, you like that. On the others, like that creates more issues sometimes than it's worth. Even in the restaurant business, we have had the opportunity to do takeout and delivery, which a lot of restaurants are doing just to find a way to bring in some revenue or survive. And we decided not to, just because I didn't feel like I wanted to put anybody at risk. Whether it was a customer, an employee, you can't have 3 people in a kitchen 6 feet apart. It's not possible. So let's just not even do it. Let's just keep everybody safe, and at some point when we feel better about it. So yeah, it's interesting, the whole construction industry, or the the plumbing or whatever the industry, that how people are handling this. So, I know you're sensitive to all that. I'm glad that your daughter, is fine. And though it's, yeah, I get it. Like you just, you feel a sore throat coming on, you're going, oh my God, you just can't help it. And unfortunately she got sick. It was probably just bad timing, right? So something that she just had that everybody gets during the winter, but made you even more anxious about it. So I'm glad all that turned out okay. All right, Jason, welcome.
Welcome, everyone. I'll start with personally, like everyone else, locked in the house. Been with my kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old, and my wife. And that part's, if there's been a bright spot to all this, spending the time together, having this like forced situation. We've been in the house now for about a month. It's ultimately been good. I like to cook a lot, so I'm spending a lot of time in the kitchen, cooking a lot of food, eating a lot of food as a result. And my waistline isn't isn't loving me for all the stuff that I'm doing. But that experience of being with the family and kind of connecting in that way has been a positive. Business-wise, we've been pretty heavily impacted by this whole scenario. Our first quarter, we broke even, which we haven't been at a break-even point. And even through like 2008 and some of the other big events, we've always been able to turn a profit. We broke even quarter 1, quarter 2, we're looking to be a couple $1 million in the hole. Even through that though, we haven't had to lay anyone off at this point. We've done things like stopping 401k matching. We've taken leadership team pay cuts. So we're doing some measures right now, trying to prevent the loss of any staff. It's really unpredictable. We're in a big chunk of what we do, about 80% of what we do is consumer insights. So like Sasha, what you're experiencing with your customers right now, are ways that we're interfacing with our clients. You know, the big question mark is, this is changing us. We're in the middle of a change or a transformation as a people. What's going to stick when this is all done? Are people going to stop wanting to subscribe to things like this because they're spooked now? Or are there going to be different habits that come out of all this? That's something that we work with a lot of our clients on. And the hope is that while consumer insights is a place where a lot of the big companies are making cuts right now or trying to prevent spending, we really feel strongly that coming out of all this, it's going to be a great time to try and get to know your customers again and understand, now that we've gone through this experience, what's different, what's changed. So we're really hopeful that the second half of the year is going to be a really busy one. You know, like you were saying, Paul, like there's been some bright spots lately. It sounds like things are flattening out. The uncertainty is probably the hardest part. So while it hasn't been as dire as a lot of industries, it's been something that's been, you know, it's affected us quite a bit.
Yeah, I definitely could see an uptick for your business, because everybody's going to wonder, what is our customer thinking now?
Absolutely.
And nobody knows.
Yep.
And how comfortable people are going to be doing business, leaving their homes, going out, you know,
Absolutely.
what pace any of that's going to happen. So yeah, I think that's going to be a great opportunity for you guys. And, you know, Travis, I was going to mention too, something that I did as well, is I just completely narrowed my, my view of the news and what was going on. I mean, I literally stopped looking at any social media stuff, especially anything that had a political edge to it, which I enjoy normally. Got rid of any of that. Don't care about any of that. All I care about is what's happening right now. And you know, I'm an analog guy in a digital world, so I get my couple of newspapers in the morning and I'll look at them, and that's about it. You know, I just stay away from everything else and focus again on positives. And fortunately, you know, nowadays we're seeing a little bit more and more every day, which is good.
Yeah, I agree with that. And at the end of the day, I've had the similar experience, just like the mental state of negative, 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 negative. It's so dire. And I've had to do the same thing. It's like, I can't look at this stuff every day and just hear all this doom and gloom. You don't know how much of it's being sensationalized. You don't know if they're putting it out there to try, you know, there's so much unknown, and you look for the hope. And, you know, like you said, recently we're finding some more of that, but, you know, up until recent, there hasn't been a whole lot of hope in any of the stuff that we're reading in news media, and it's a real downer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So again, I think actually some habits that I hope to continue going forward, because we just realized how obsessed we were with just staring at our phone or looking at stuff from, you know, and it's all consuming. And I find myself being much more relaxed and kind of even just present with what's going on by not taking that urge every time to look. So good, a lot of good healthy habits. Nick, good morning.
Morning. Guess starting off with the business part, it's been a bit of a challenge. It's definitely been an impact. Most of what we do is driven by, we bill based on what our customers print in their organizations, with a lot of stay-at-home orders, and just in general, people aren't in their buildings anymore. However, at the same time, kind of pulling the quote from one of the like pre-work readings, I mean, not letting a good crisis go to waste. And in fact, a lot of us are busier than ever, just taking a lot of things that we just didn't have time for that were on the back burner, and really increasing our team's capacity as much as possible. We're hyper-focused on our cash position, essentially, because while things aren't as bad as we initially anticipated right now, we want to be as prepared as possible. And then also we do have a large segment of our employee base that goes to customer sites, which are still operational, which are still open. While some of them are deemed essential, we get that kind of essential title falls to us to some extent. So we've been working a lot on a lot of PPE processes and getting stuff shipped out to all of our team members and making sure that they're following the proper protocols and dealing with all the concerns there. And then also just kind of got hit with some bad timing too, and all this. Some people that were retiring or moving to other states or whatnot. It just so happened that those dates are coinciding like during this time. Additionally, one of the things that I talked about in previous calls that we've had, one of the big things I was working on the first quarter was finalizing some cost reduction strategies with a customer. That took place, which resulted in some unintended reductions in staff, completely separate from this whole crisis that's going on. It was just the new structure, but that was certainly unfortunate. But otherwise, we're doing pretty well. Then on the home front, my position has been work from home, aside from travel, which I'm not doing right now, obviously. The kids being home makes it a completely different beast. That's for sure. It's unimaginable. And in fact, if my wife wasn't working from home right now, I don't know how anything would get done. They're constantly, just in this call, they must have come in here like 7 times to like talk to me or show me something. My daughter just got some new paint, some Crayola paint or whatnot that just got delivered, and she ran up here and she was showing me all the different colors and all excited, and then, which is the good stuff. But then outside of that, they're like fighting and yelling and everyone's getting stir crazy. Or you let them go outside and I look out the window and some other family or kids are like, or someone's walking their dog and they run over to it because they're like 4 and 7. They don't really get the social distancing thing. And then you got to like yell out to them like a psycho, like, don't touch that dog from the window. That's always fun. And then also on the personal side, a little concern for, I mean, my wife, she's a nurse practitioner, so not sure what's happening there in terms of like right now she's able to work from home. She's been able to do like the like remote visits, and then she's been like taking like the call for like the COVID screening so that people can get tested. But depending on how things go, it's probably just a matter of time before she gets pulled into like high risk areas or whatnot. But so hoping that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll, testing is going to be so much more widely available too, and the healthcare workers will have easy access to get tested and put themselves in safe environments and things like that. So, but yeah, I could let the kids in, man. We can meet them if they want to show you something during the call. That's like you said, it's good that they want your attention, but you want your little space too at times. But sounds like you guys are hanging in there, Nick. Roy, tell us about your calming background.
Well, that's where I'd rather be right now instead of on my couch. So yeah, that's a picture of my daughter somewhere back there.
Oh, there you go.
Going to the beach there. Yeah. So personally, professionally, I don't know where this falls in, but working from home has been really tough for me. We did a remote work for all our employees that could work from home back March 16th. Last week was the first week I tried a day working from home. And I think the biggest challenge for me is most of our workers are guards and janitors, technicians, they're all working, and a lot of them show up to our office. And so for me, just psychologically not being there, I just couldn't do it. And so it took me until last week, because I've been pushing everybody who can work from home, including leadership. And so it's that's not how I normally am, where do as I say, not as I do, or, so then I started applying that to myself, saying, how can I expect others, including leadership, to be at home if they keep seeing me coming in? So I'm trying. It's very challenging. I have a daughter here at home who has kind of more of a weakened immune system, so we're very careful. And so my wife's been very concerned, and that's probably been as tough too, going through this quarantine process before I even come in the house, and just even leaving, her concern. That's probably been more tough than this whole situation. On the other end, our team has been amazing. Everybody who we deployed, we were at an offsite the week before the 16th. We had an offsite planning session for 3 days. And earlier that week, we had set up the arrangement for everybody to work from home. We had 2 people prior that had any experience with that. And on a Friday, we pulled the trigger. Come Monday, everybody that would normally be in our office was working from home, with the exception of a few of us. And just seeing how they've responded and adjusted, and it's obviously for everybody, it's been a whirlwind, but it's been amazing. There's been a lot of positives that have come out of this for sure that will continue. Changes for myself, changes for everybody around me. And so that's been amazing, that what we're taking from this, and business has changed for us forever, right? And so we're rolling with the punches, we're making adjustments, but there's a lot of positive coming out of it. And I think for me, as the leader, the biggest positive to see how strong of a team we have, and making this work with 500 plus employees, and you wouldn't really know that anything's changed. Business is normal for us. If anything, the demand for our services continues to increase. And our biggest challenge is making sure we have the headcount to support it. You know, we have people on the business side that probably about 20 on the quarantine, because we implemented a process that automatic quarantine if you answer yes to any of these questions where you might potentially, you know, be infecting others or might be ill. We have 0 COVID cases right now, but we have 20 people on quarantine. We've had about 20 people quit from fear. And so as a leadership team, we got in front of it. We started bringing people on, and we have about 20 extra people right now on the books, but they're just there ready and meeting the demands as all these people go on quarantine and quit. And I think we're past that fear point where now it's just, how do we maintain that balance and how do we keep moving forward? Starting last week, we're planning for our next fiscal year, which starts in July. And it was really interesting to see our leadership and how they responded when I said, all right, we're still going to move forward. We're just changing how we plan for the new year with our support team. And I started calendaring the Zoom meeting. We're about a week off of where I wanted to be planning for next year, and just got back to some sense of normalcy despite everything that's happening and needed to be reactive. It was initial odd reaction, because people are like, how can you think forward right now when we're reacting every day in our business? Like literally things are changing sometimes by the hour. And so initially that was interesting to get our leadership to say, look, we can continue not just to respond and react, but this is how we've gotten through this challenge, is continuing to look forward. And so it's back to business as normal, really. That last week was interesting just from a mindset standpoint, because things are just changing so rapidly. Our county that we're in is throwing so much regulation at what they're expecting businesses to do. And fortunately, because we've been proactive, we've been in front of most of it. And so now last week, I just feel like we're back to normal, we're adjusting, and I feel really good about where we're at. I really do. And for me personally, the growth, it's just been amazing to see how they respond.
Well, when do you have a time where we're all affected personally this way, and thinking about just even the health of our own families and then the carryover to our businesses? And so it sounds like your team has been extremely resilient through this, and already lessons learned, you know, to have, you know, you say even back to normal. Wow. You know, I'm sure the rest of us would love to be able to say that, you know, it's going to take a while to get there, but we're going to talk in a few minutes more about kind of those lessons learned, and how I'm sure all of you are thinking in some ways of the future, and even how you've grown as a leader. So great stuff, Roy. Maggie, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. So on a business side, my company is, you know, in tech, and so in the immediate, we haven't seen much change, which we've been very fortunate for, because, you know, as people are switching to working remotely, it's created an opportunity for us to help with that, and help, you know, monitor networks and you know, all of that side. And so we we normally offer on-site or remote services, and so we've definitely seen a very obvious shift away from on-site. Our engineers are not going anywhere right now, but we've been very fortunate that we have not had any of our clients just cancel any of our engagements that were already scheduled. So we have seen a decrease in sales. Obviously, projects like, you know, upgrading network and hardware and things like that, that's all pretty discretionary. And so as people, or as companies are being impacted, those are kind of the first easy things to let go of budget wise. So we've seen that decrease in leads or opportunities, I guess I should say. But we're monitoring it, and the business is definitely still healthy. We're very fortunate in that way right now. And we made it a very top priority to look out for our people. I mean, as everyone else has. And so we're very fortunate that we're in a position where we have no plans to lay off anyone globally. I don't know if you guys, or if I've mentioned this, I know I've mentioned this once or twice before, but you know, we have offices in the UK, in Ireland. We're closing on our Aqua merger this month for expanding into Australia and Sri Lanka and Singapore. And so we've been very fortunate that, you know, globally, there are no plans to lay anybody off. And also, as we're checking in with our global employees, nobody has been impacted personally within their families or themselves by the virus. So we're trying to make sure that everybody's healthy and safe. There's some really interesting lockdowns in Sri Lanka where it is impacting some of the employees' ability to do business. They're completely shut down, and then they have curfews basically where every 3 days they're allowed to leave their homes and go out for 2 hours and you know, go grocery shopping or do whatever necessities they need to do, which seems kind of backwards to me, but you know, if everybody's going out at the same time, it kind of seems like it's defeating the purpose. But you know, they're doing what they can, and we've asked how we can help, if we can ship anything to our employees to help alleviate anything. And unfortunately, a lot of countries aren't allowing any shipments in, or you know, any postage or anything, but we've been just keeping in constant contact, and that seems to be helping. The communication, the open communication seems to be helping with our employee morale. We, on the remote side, I mean, half of our staff is remote anyway, and so the staff who is used to working in-house or in office, they always had an option to work remotely if, you know, if they had a family circumstance or, you know, whatever, if they needed to work from home or work remotely, they were allowed to. So it was a pretty easy transition for us to get everybody working remotely full time. But it's been interesting because as you know, we've touched on this a few times already, but we have already had the employees that are asking, okay, why can't this be the permanent? Like, why can't we just work remotely going forward? And so that's been interesting for the leadership team to navigate, because employees are obviously proving that it's possible. That, but I mean, for us, it'll just be something that we look at kind of on the other side of, you know, what are the permanent changes that we're willing to make or that we need to make, what is necessary, things like that. And then I guess on a personal side, so I didn't really share this with anybody, but I'm 36 weeks pregnant, and that is now very interesting to navigate, right? So At this time, my husband is allowed to come to the hospital with me for my delivery, which I'm very grateful for. At one point earlier in the month, it looked like they weren't going to allow any visitors, even a partner or spouse or even one guest. They weren't going to allow anybody in the hospital, but it's looking like at least my husband and nobody else will be able to come, but I'm grateful that I won't have to deliver alone. Yeah, so that's definitely added some stress in our household, just thinking of bringing a newborn baby. And for us as first-time parents, that's been an interesting topic for us in our household. And we were still taking our baby care classes, and so we had to move a lot of those to virtual, which we're lucky and fortunate that we were able, to take a lot of the classes virtually instead of just missing out on them completely. But yeah, I mean, other than that, working remotely, for me, I mean, it's just my husband and I in our house right now, at least for a few more weeks. And then we have 2 dogs, which I'm gonna have to wipe off one of their feet in just a minute because unfortunately he decided to dig a hole right as this meeting was starting. Not sure where that came from, new habit, I guess. Yeah, so I don't know, overall just trying to keep a good morale, not get too stressed, definitely not like you guys were saying, trying to stay off social media and only watching the news when, we try and only watch the news a couple times a week just to get the basic updates that we need, but trying to stay away from it because with having the added stress of bringing an infant into the world right now is, we're trying not to be too overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, I think it's good news that your husband's going to be able to join you. Things seem to be in most parts of the country easy. The hospitals are not feeling being overwhelmed. I mean, there's a few exceptions to that, but so that's great news, and I'm sure you'll congratulations on the baby. Interesting how you said in the company how other countries are dealing with it. My good friend lives in Hong Kong, and none of their restaurants have been closed. It's been amazing. They've had 7 million people in the city and only 1,000 cases and 4 deaths in Hong Kong, and they're all used to wearing masks and everything. And he said now the restaurants, they stay open, but they can only be 50% full, and everybody walks in with their masks, sit down, takes off their mask to order, puts their mask back on, and then takes off their mask to eat. Puts their mask back on and leaves. And everybody that works in the restaurant wears masks too. But those practices become kind of cultural, and they obviously seem to be working. So all right, good overall update. Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So on a personal level, similar to I think it was Jason just saying that the time at home is very nice. I think my relationship with my children has grown and with my wife, and just the extra downtime and cutting out the commute to and from work has been, just giving me the ability to tackle some of those things that I've always wanted to. Like, we've been growing vegetables from seed this year, and I'm getting a garden ready to plant with my kids, and just little things like that, like taking breaks to shoot baskets with the boys. So from a home standpoint, I almost feel guilty because I know for a lot of people, the homeschooling thing is really tough, but we've homeschooled in the past, and we're already debating about maybe homeschooling again. So, yeah, I'm really thankful for the home front. Although I would say the conflict of it is just, figuring out the work from home balance with time with the family and versus being unavailable. And for the first week or so, about half our company had never worked from home in any meaningful way. So there was about a week where we were all pretty inefficient and scrambling to make it happen. But overall, personally, everything is pretty stable and maybe even a little bit better at home. Company-wise, it's been a lot of highs and lows since the last time we talked. The timing of this is ironic because, you know, we did our big offsite retreat on March 3rd. And that was like the high water mark of our company's entire history. You know, we were, January and February were the 2 best months we've ever had in terms of sales and profit. We were talking about buying a building. We were talking about adding 3 or 4 new team members. You know, we were working with consultants to help us on different things, and we had that great offsite retreat to discover our identity. And then, like, literally 1 week later, you know, all this changed, and, you know, overall we're doing well, but we've just had to make a lot of changes, like a combination of, so just to give you some context, our company has about 30 people, and we've only had to lay off 3. And when I say lay off, they're really furloughed until hopefully this all blows over. And then about half the company is on some kind of shared work plan where New York State allows you to, if you don't have work for, let's say, 1 or 2 days a week, you can receive unemployment for those couple days and, you know, kind of remain pretty close to being whole. And so, you know, our goal coming out of it, you know, at that retreat, we had just focused on how, you know, family and caring for people for the totality of their lives is so important to us. And then, like, 1 week later, all of that was completely put to the test in the most real way it ever has for us. So the timing has just been really interesting, but it's been hard too, because, you know, we've had to make some tough decisions, and you know, sometimes it's hard to know the right thing to do. Like, some of the people laid off, they're actually making more money from all these packages than if they were to stay on with us. But I know at least one of them, their morale is hurt from the fact that they're laid off. And so, like, what's better for them, to stay on when they have absolutely nothing to do, or to be laid off and get more money, and then we can, you know, hopefully bring them back. So there's just been many of those little decisions we've had to make, and juggling a lot of those has been tough. But because we started the year well, we're not in too bad of a cash position yet, but we've been focusing on, you know, watching every dollar that we're spending. I'm really thankful right now for my dad and his leadership. So he's kind of taken on the finance part of all this in terms of working on our receivables and, you know, making the decisions on all the layoffs versus shared work. And then my role has been to kind of put my head down and fast track as many of our projects as possible to bring billing as close to current as possible. So that's been, and working from home has been great for that, because I didn't realize how much more productive I am when I don't have all the office distractions. So even coming out of this, I think I want to do more of a blend of working from home and being in the office. But yeah, it's just, you know, funny just how much things have changed in the last several weeks. And I think some other challenges, I'm looking at my notes here. So in our industry, I would say it's good and bad, because a lot of our consulting has to do with being in buildings. You know, we're cleaning consultants, so we have to visit buildings to do quality audits and checks and to measure their facilities. And that's completely shut down right now. Most of our senior consultants are 60s and 70s, and all of them have existing health conditions. So, and we took care of them, even though our building, our customers asked us to, and just had them start working from home. But as buildings start opening, I don't think these guys are going to be on planes and just get back out there again. So we're going to have to retool some things. Like Roy was saying, though, our industry is as relevant as ever. So I guess that's some silver lining. And I think we're going to just have to focus more of our consulting on cleaning for health and audits for health, versus up to point, our clients have been more appearance driven. Like, they want their buildings to look clean, but they didn't care about the invisible aspect of it. And then the other big positive change we've made is, I've been putting my Paul hat on, and I've been using Zoom to bring all our clients together. And I've never done that, but we had never collectively brought all of our clients together, but we were trying to stay as relevant as possible, and that's been fun. I've about every 2 weeks, I've been hosting a Zoom, 4 different Zoom webinars for our 4 different industries. And we've had like 100 people attending, and it's just building really good goodwill and keeping us very relevant for them. And I think I'm going to keep doing those going forward, even after this all ends, because our clients have been loving it. And, you know, there's no billing or anything coming out of it. We're hoping that when this all ends, we'll be, you know, very, very much needed by them. So yeah, a lot going on. Sorry to be a little long-winded, but that's where we're at.
A lot of you've got a lot to be grateful for, right? I mean, that's what you are recognizing in at home and in the business, which is great. And I think we're all going to look to see how this changes our business going forward. So great update. Brandy, take us home.
There we go. Hi. But I think, as Maggie said, the tech industry is not really hurting right now. Thankfully, everyone needs data consulting. Everyone needs IT support. Everyone needs, you know, all of the technological solutions that we that are kind of the bread and butter of our organization have been in high demand because everyone is switching to remote work and needing to make sure that you know, that everything, their servers are functioning well and everything is up to date. And on the data side of our business, we lost some of our travel clients. So some of our airline, you know, the airline industry clients and some things like that have pulled back or postponed some of those engagements, but we picked up quite a few medical related organizations that are really depending on data analytics right now to make sure that they're able to serve, you know, their patients and their clients. So it's been pretty much a wash for us, but we're still very conservative. We've paused all recruiting, which is a big part of my role. So we've paused all of the recruiting. We've paused our internship program for the summer because that's all on site. And so it's a super bummer because that's something that's kind of the jewel in our employee experience team. That's kind of the jewel in our crown is our internship program, because we are able to I think the energy that they bring every summer, that having an office full of interns who are learning and excited about tech is always just such a cool vibe and makes everybody, you know, we ask people to serve as mentors and guides to them. And I think most people who are in the office really love that piece, and everybody is going to miss having interns this summer. So I mean, there's still a small chance that we're able to pull that off, but at this time it's looking pretty doubtful. We're all still going to be working remotely for the time being. The other challenge I'm having with my work right now is our employee experience team handles traditional HR and recruiting and things like that, and our open enrollment fell right in the middle of all of this, and so we're doing benefits renewals. And so we get a lot of requests for people who do have a little more time on their hands, who want to work on internal projects, my CEO included, going, oh, we should really work on our, you know, updating the handbook or doing this or that. And I'm trying to communicate to everyone that while a lot of our consulting and some of our sales team and some of our recruiters may be having a little more time on their hands, me personally, I'm busier than I've ever been, and I need to create some boundaries around that, because we're getting hit up with a lot of requests for, hey, can we work on this? Oh, let's use this time to do this. Oh, I think someone said earlier, like, don't let a good crisis go to waste. But honestly, I'm busier than I've ever been. I need people to understand this, that I don't have downtime right now. So that's been a challenge. Personally, I had to go pack up the dorm 2 months early with my son, who was away at college. So we got him moved home a couple of weeks ago. My daughter's doing online high school. And so that's actually been really great. I think a lot of people have said this. If you have kids, there's going to be some really great memories made during this time that I wasn't counting on that. Like, I don't think I really really realize that. I think all of us have had that moment where we kind of look around and we're like, this is actually really great. I'm spending a lot of time with the people that I love. And so I think it's that piece of it has been a surprise for me, how much we're actually enjoying one another's company. And, you know, having movie nights and going on walks and some things like that, that I think we normally wouldn't take the time to maybe do all the time every single day. So yeah, I think it's all good. I also got a puppy right before all of this started.
Oh.
And I'm very thankful for that because he keeps me company while I'm working at home.
Perfect timing. Yeah, it sounds like relatively minor adjustments, you know, communicating to your team about expectations that are realistic. I think that's a really important point right now. Yeah, so much is being done online. My son, who's 13, goes to Taekwondo, and they've been doing those classes. And tonight he's actually getting tested for a new belt, all done online. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll get called in there to help hold the pads or whatever for him. All right, great updates, everybody. Really, yeah.
I wanted to share something real fast. I forgot to mention it. And it's a really cool thing that our CEO is doing, that he's reached out to a couple other companies in the Evergreen community that were hit harder than we were. And one of them is the Fruit Guys. Are you familiar with the Fruit Guys? Anybody know? They basically, their core business is delivering fruit to offices and to schools, which not doing well right now. So we have agreed with them to do a little cross promotion thing where we're gonna try to advertise their offering to all of our clients and hopefully help them pick up their business a little bit to do private deliveries. So these opportunities are out there, you know, to if you have companies that, you know, are struggling and you're not selling the same product, you can help them by suggesting their products to your current client list. So we're very excited to do that for them.
Yeah, great opportunity for collaboration as well. So Hamza, why don't you bring up our first breakout question, and something I want you guys to think about, talk about in your breakouts for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back. Question is, how has this experience changed how you view yourself as a leader? So I want you to focus personally here and think about how you look at yourself as a leader, what might have changed, and then we'll report back out. So go ahead and take about 10 minutes. All right, so we don't have time to, you know, hear from everybody, but I just want to get, you know, kind of 2 or 3 maybe report outs from folks to see what you guys came up with, and because I want to get to a couple other questions too. But who has some thoughts to share about what maybe was talked about in your group about how you guys are looking at your own leadership as a result of this? Yeah, Maggie.
Well, I'd just like to commend Michelle that she's showing up for her team by being in office every day. She's, you know, one of the other leaders in her team is choosing to stay at home, and members of her or people, you know, other employees are noticing, and it does affect morale, but that she chose to continue to show up at the office because the rest of her team has to be there is really commendable. And as you know, and she said, oh, it's just, you know, something that you do. And yeah, I thought that, you know, maybe isn't necessarily a change in behavior for right now, but just the fact that, you know, taking the time to think about how you lead by example, kind of what everybody else was talking about earlier. I think that, you know, she's showing that example by being there for her team.
It's a great one. Great example of good leadership during this time. Yeah, Emily.
Brady shared a really, I thought it was an astute observation, but making decisions in a crisis situation is not something that we're all normally used to or have experience in. And, you know, usually you have the luxury of time or having all of the information, but at this point, you have to sometimes just make quick decisions with a lot of pressure. And so that's something that is a growth area.
Yeah, absolutely. None of us have ever been in this situation like this, and you got to just take a deep breath and make important, tough decisions. And you'll know whether they were right down the road somewhere, but using your gut most often works really well. That's a good one. Who else had a good insight? Yeah, Jason.
I don't know if it's a good insight. That kind of sets me up to deliver on something really good. But Brenda and I were talking about just, you know, our roles as leaders before and after this whole situation, and our own like way we viewed ourselves as leaders within a company. People now really need reassurance and that personal check-ins, the way we talk and try and inspire hope while also being transparent and walking, you know, the tightrope of not allowing people to be blindsided by what might come or the situations that we're in, but also trying to keep them uplifted and how we can really set a tone within the company. So it's really helped, or it shifted the view that we have of ourselves as leaders in the company and the influence that we have from the people around us.
I think that's great. I mean, just simply being able to know how to communicate with folks around this and showing the balance of empathy, but also the fact that we need to step up now as not only leaders, but as people in the company to get stuff done. You know, Michelle's story reminded me of an article I read this morning about a Dallas couple who the wife is an ER nurse here in Dallas. The husband used to be an ER nurse, and 5 years ago decided to become a lawyer. So he went to law school, and he's for the last 5 years just been a practicing personal injury attorney here in Dallas, but felt so compelled by what was going on that he actually decided to leave his family and go to New York and work in a hospital in Queens, New York, where he still is on the front lines of this, just because of that kind of commitment and dedication. And he knew he had a skill that was useful today. So those just profiles and courage just really touch me. And I kind of go, God, would I do that? Could I do that? I don't know. I don't know if I'd be as strong as that. So great to see how you guys are thinking about that. And I'm sure, you know, although there's stressful and nervous times, you'll look back with pride at how you guys have stepped up and reacted during this, which is, you should all feel really good about. All right, so let's go ahead and throw up the next question. We're going to do this one also as a breakout. The last one we're just going to do as a group. This one says, what one thing could you work on now that would move your business forward and energize you or your team? So is there a specific project or program, something that you could work on right now that would help propel the business forward or energize the team? So let's take another 10 in breakouts and have you guys talk about that.
We haven't seen the kiddos, Nick. You're doing a really good job of hiding them.
Actually,
Are they short?
My last breakout, we didn't really talk about the question because kids walked in and my son was pretending to be FDR. Weirdest thing ever. Yeah. He had like his papers like he was 7 years old, and that's who he pretends to be.
That's great.
Family.
All right. So this one was really about what you might be able to work on right now that could help the company or energize you or your team going forward. So maybe a couple other people that haven't shared yet from a breakout, who's got a thought or what you might have talked about in your group. I need a hand. Travis, there you go. Thank you.
Tony and I were in a breakout and we were speaking about different things that we can do. And for me, I had started a leadership training program back in 2019, excuse me. And it was really about, as a 4-part voluntary course where we focus on self-awareness, onto communication within your team. And, it was talking about our core values, things of that nature. We had downsized there in the middle to late 2019. So that leadership program was shelved. But now I think it's more important than ever that we bring that back. We put that in the forefront of our community and say, this is really important. We care about you guys. We care about the relationships that you have. And so I think slowly reintroducing that and getting people engaged will provide some reinforcement within our community. And one of the things that Tony was talking about was really how to reach out and connect with a team and to help them feel heard and seen and understood and valued. And so, even reaching out, personal phone calls, handwritten notes to say, hey, we value you, we see you, and we want to support you, I think will go a long way. And one thing that we share in our industries is that we're both serving in different ways. Them more on the cleaning side, us in the construction side. And one of the things I share with Tony is that a way to reinforce their purpose is back in the early 1900s, there's a public service campaign to get people, I guess, just to give them more knowledge around plumbing. And it's a plumber standing on top of the world with a pipe wrench on his shoulder, and it's, plumbers protect the health and safety of the nation. Well, it doesn't just apply to plumbing; it applies to the custodial world as well. And so I think that might be a really helpful way for them to engage their base, is saying, hey, our cleaning consultant service helps protect these office buildings, help protect these communities, these schools. So those are both things that we took away.
I think those are great examples. You think about leadership training or training of any type, and those are the types of things that sometimes go by the wayside in companies, or when budgets get cut and we sort of take away the things that are really, truly important. So if that renews your commitment to that kind of training, to keep it as a tradition, that's really great. And I think right now, these personal reach outs to people, the phone calls, we had one leader in our other group who said that his big learning was the role that he could play simply being compassionate on a one-on-one basis with people to understand how they're doing, because their lives have been turned upside down or they're working remotely, and just somebody to talk to, just to simply ask, how you doing, right, is a great role for a leader that we all should be doing on a regular basis. But if this is a reminder of ways we can step up, it's a great time to do that. Okay, who else had some good examples? Yeah, Brenda. And then Lauren.
Yeah, so Jason and I were talking, and one of the things that we decided to implement according this quarter is some way to measure employee satisfaction, stress level, engagement. So we were looking for a platform, hopefully nothing manual, where we could put a process in place to measure that going forward, so we could address stresses and concerns. And Jason was saying that they have a program like that, and they send out a pulse survey that has 5 quick questions, and even solicits feedback on what people have learned during times like this.
Yeah, that's a good one. And for your company too, with so few employees, you're not going to do something that's big and formal. So these kind of programs, Tiny Pulse or some of these other programs that are out there that allow you to sort of take the emotional temperature of people all along the way in a casual, informal way, is a great example. Great, Lauren.
Roy and I had a great talk about his goal to, what he feels like he can do is to, even with everything going on, continue to move his company forward with their new fiscal year planning, and still be thinking to the future, but doing it, realistically, but having that leadership presence. And he was mentioning how this is the first time that they set objectives for their team, and this is the first time that they've set personal objectives. So kind of like carrying that through, especially amid everything going on, is going to be really important. I was talking about how I think one of my first duties when I come back is to create a plan to get our firm back to work physically. So that will be something that I could do, and have various A, B, and C plans, because, in this case, this is what we can do if we have a full open, this is 50% workforce, this is so-and-so. Because I think knowing what will happen, it will help the team, at least knowing that we have a plan in the event of multiple different environments will make the team feel better, instead of just living in this unknown about, what will it look like when we get back to work, or when will we, or are they going to take our safety into concern? So I think that's something that I can work on as one of my first duties.
Yeah, I think that's great. When the team sees that you have taken the time to plan and anticipate as best you can, that makes them feel much more comfortable. And for Roy, the idea that we're, as much as we're trying to balance having compassion and getting through this crisis, we also have to take the time to look forward and plan for the future. And that's one of the really important roles that we have as leaders. So congratulations on doing that. Great stuff. So I want to throw up, not for a breakout, but I want to throw up this final question and have you guys chime in. It says, if you could look back at 6 months from now, what major change can I anticipate in our business model that would be a positive? So you're going through this, you guys have talked about whether it's working remotely or other things that you've witnessed or you've been through. Is there something that you can think about now, 6 months, a year from now, you're looking back and going, wow, our business changed fundamentally. It might even be the model. It may be the product or service that we offer. So we can go back to the regular view. Just want to know if there's anything like that you guys are thinking about that really might be a major change in the way your company does business going forward. Just feel free to shout it out or raise your hand. Sasha, we'll start with you.
Well, I think there's a lot of ways that it's going to be beneficial, but what I was thinking is and it applies to every single company out there that's going to survive this, is I think nothing gets a group closer together than adversity and getting through that adversity. So I see we do every day, we do it from 9 to 10:15, we do a video company-wide meeting. So everybody joins and we just rap a little bit about the status of the virus and what we're thinking and what we're looking at, what are the dangers, what are the positives. And I see that in that meeting, everyone's just a little box. So you don't have the CEO, you don't have the operations manager, you don't have the VP, you just have a little box, just a little person talking. So it really puts everybody on the same page. And I see that now people join like 5-10 minutes early before the meeting and then just wrap. They just talk and hang out and laugh before the official meeting. So I know to us, it is going to bring the team much closer together. And that's an unexpected positive. And, and as I talked about, I know that now we have been fortunate with pretty good business, but the way to communicate to our customers the value that our product brings, and a way to hopefully change their mind about canceling because of cost, those things are going to survive, and those things are going to help us save a lot of our customers long after COVID-19 is history.
Great, so good lessons learned. All right, who else has a thought about how the business might change? Travis, and then Roy.
It's my sincere hope that as a society, and it'll definitely affect our business, but as a society, we look at the people that are working right now, from the healthcare industry to the plumbers and service technicians, to anyone that's out there labeled as essential business and beyond. But the value that's placed on those people in our society is much greater than it used to be. The grocery store clerks, they all have so much value, and we value CEOs and basketball stars and NFL and so many other areas that don't contribute in the same way that so many people do. And I hope as a society we can take a look at this and say, those are the people that matter in our society, and we want to treat them and respect them more. And so that will certainly affect how we do business. It's something that we fought for in the construction industry, but that's what I want to take away.
That's a great point. I totally agree with that. And, I have just so much gratitude for people on the front lines, or, I just thank the grocery store clerk for working, and what people are sacrificing and doing for the rest of us. It's like soldiers. I mean, it really is. It's like frontline soldiers, and we owe them all that gratitude. So I hope we show that, right, going forward in different and better ways than we do now. That's a great one. Roy.
Hey, Paul, that's a big question. It's a great question. One of the things that we're finding a lot of value is all the leaders have made from day one. Well, we went back to day one of all the changes that we've made, all the changes we're planning, everything that's changed due to this climate. And we've made an entry per day so we can go back and answer exactly what you're saying, Paul. What things have we implemented that have forever changed our business? A couple things stand out to me. Recruiting, we had about a 50% drop-off rate of people that would schedule an interview and then not show up. So we're doing everything virtual. We created a system where the employer, prospective employee, has access to calendars, schedules their own appointments according to what works for them. And we've had almost no shows. So that's a major one. Virtual training, we're putting together virtual training now to be able to get out to our field. I don't want to go into all the detail, but I found a lot of value, and our leaders are finding value, is literally taking the time to note and go do a historical timeline of everything that's changed, because I think there's going to be a lot of answers to your question if you go through that type of a process. So that's it.
I think that's fantastic. And I think to be able to write this stuff down, to document what you're doing, and I think that's just a great lesson for everybody that we can leave with, is this idea that we're all going to come out better for this. And, if we can for a moment just assume that we stay safe and healthy and our families are doing well, and our hearts go out to anybody that's personally touched by this, or suffers as a result of this. This is a really defining moment in our lives and our businesses. And whether it's the different way that you look at your family or a different way that you look at your business, there's going to be a ton of positives that you're going to realize are as a result of this time that we had, whether it was forced or not, to reevaluate. So encourage you all to do more of that, to stay safe and healthy. Best wishes. Hopefully our next call will be back to, even sharing some great stories and new learnings. But really appreciate all of the resilience in the room and how you guys are handling this. I think I'm very proud of all of you and how you're showing yourselves as leaders. So thanks for the great talk today. Hamza, any final thoughts or announcements?
Yeah, just a couple quick ones. You will be receiving an email today with your new buddy assignment. So we do this always halfway through the program. We're really excited to connect you with a new person. Of course, we know that some of you developed some awesome relationships in the first half of the program, so you may continue to connect with your buddy then, but you'll get a new assignment today, and you'll also get a calendar invite. So for some of you, you thought it'd be helpful if we were a little bit more proactive about that. So we'll have that on your calendar, but decide on the time and the mode of communication with your new buddy. So that's coming soon. The May call, of course, we would have loved to see you in person, but we are so excited to have an awesome session with Diana Wong. You are in for a treat. Hopefully you have that on your calendar, but there's pre-work for that. And I think given the climate and what we're doing these days, I hope it will provide some really wonderful connecting opportunities with family members, close friends. So take a look at that pre-work. It's in the LMS already. And so we will meet in May, and then you'll have an opportunity to also connect with your new buddy for a lengthy period of time. So that's happening in May. Paul already mentioned, we really appreciate the feedback that you've given us. We do have one more conversation one-on-one to get feedback on the program, and we'll share insights and highlights from that. And we also have a ton of resources just to get you through this time that's available in the Learning Hub as well. Be healthy, be safe, and we'll see you in May. Thank you all so much.
Bye guys.
Take
Thanks
care.
everybody.
Take care.